Thanks for coming on. What are your plans? You just graduated high school.
Yes.
Now what?
I'm going to the UMKC 6-year BAMD program in the fall. So I'll be spending the next 6 years in Kansas City. Very excited. This summer, pretty much, so it is my last summer. I don't get any other break after this. So I've canceled all my internships, just staying home, relaxing, spending time with family, and just having fun.
Preparing for
the mental torture
suffering
that's coming. Yeah.
One of our students is in that program now. Did you know that?
Who?
I'd have to look it up. He's been on a previous video that there's videos on our website, and he's on there. So he's going through the same program.
Okay. I know Rhea Dave, if you remember her.
She's doing it too?
She's a 5th year now, I think. I want to say 5th year, I'm pretty sure. Or 6th, maybe. But yeah, she's in the program.
And it's basically you're in school for 6 years straight.
Yeah.
Instead of 8 years with summers off.
Yeah, exactly. So no break after this. This is it.
And it's more concentrated also because you already know you're going to go to med school. You already, I mean, you still have to take the MCAT?
No MCAT, which is a blessing.
That's huge.
Yeah, huge. Because I'm directly admitted to med school.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like I'm a med student.
How hard is it to get into this program?
Technically, if you do the numbers, the acceptance rate is lower than Ivy League schools. And it's like quota-based depending on where you live.
Quota-based depending on where you live. So they only take a certain amount of people based on where you live.
Right, yeah.
How do they decide that?
So the breakdown is, I'm pretty sure Missouri students, don't quote me on this, but if they have about 60 or 65 students just for Missouri. And then there's about 30 students that are regional. So that includes Kansas, Illinois, other bordering states. And then there's only like 5 to 10 spots for out of region. So that's like everything else, like Texas, California, New York. Like,
so it was even harder.
Yeah. So like being a Texas resident makes it harder. If you're from like California or Texas, like.
So is Kansas the same as Texas?
No, because Texas is not regional. So states touching the Missouri border, I'm pretty sure, qualify as regional.
But you're to be the same as Nebraska.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though we're like 20 minutes away.
Exactly. Like there's kids from St. Louis, even though they live like 3 hours from Kansas City, and I feel more like a Kansas City local, they have a better odd than me getting in, which is like weird to think about.
Because it's state funded.
Yeah.
Interesting. So 6 years straight, and then you still have to do undergrad classes?
Yes, but the nice thing about the program is since I'm pretty much on a fast track into med school, I don't have to do like some unrelated classes. Like I don't really have to take history classes. I only have to take one English. A lot of like per se like unrelated classes to your major, I don't really have to do.
They should do that with all med school.
Which is nice, but they're not connected, right? Usually you're doing a traditional undergrad.
Right. I'm saying that why do you have to take geology?
Because like what's the guarantee you're getting into med school?
But that's what I'm saying is you should get accepted at whenever you start. Because right now, if you think about it, they do 4 years of undergrad, which includes a lot of classes that don't matter, such as art history. What does that matter?
Yeah, exactly.
If you're going to be, treating patients.
Exactly.
Well, I think it's a great program. There's a lot of people, obviously, that are in our area that, not a lot, but a lot of them that are in it are in our area. So then why did you choose to do this?
For me, I noticed recently there's a huge trend in taking gap years because it's so competitive now to even get into med school, because now you need like 300 hours of volunteering and 400 hours of shadowing. And it's just like so unrealistic with like such demanding course load in colleges. And then you have to be, in leadership positions and actively involved in this and that. And there's just so much. And then like the recent year, like the trend is you're doing so much in school already because school is so demanding because, pre-med classes aren't easy. And then you don't have time to do all this. So then you have to take a year in the middle to either retake the MCAT because you didn't study enough during the school year, or you need to gather hours to become a competitive applicant. And med school applications are insane because you're spending like $5,000 on like application fees and like, writing like hundreds of essays maybe and like interviews, and like the chance of you getting into med school is like so low. So I was like literally knowing that I'm in med school is a dream. I don't have to do any of that. I don't have to worry about getting any volunteering, shadowing, research. I don't have to take the MCAT, which is huge. I also am staying home close to family, which is nice because if I did go to med school, the chance of me being in Kansas is extremely low. So then having family support going through that like terrible phase of my life is going to be huge. Like being able to come home and getting support whenever I need. So it's just some of those factors that kept me here.
But why did you want to go to the medical field?
I think a lot of reasons. I've pretty much known I wanted to do medicine since I was like super young. Like I've never really, like I've had a few phases here and there, but at the end of the day, I've always really wanted to do medicine. For me, biology has always been easy and interesting. I've hated any other science. Like physics been the worst. Math isn't. Hated English, history. I did entertain the idea of business for a little bit, but I like the idea of making a difference in someone's life for the better, more directly than I would in a business. And it was just more related to my passion in like biology and those kind of studies. And then I did some shadowing here and there, and I just really liked the idea of like being like, you can literally see the difference in someone's life, like before and after treatment or like something you do. I did some shadowing with a clinic earlier last year, I believe. And they did surgeries on some critical patients, and like the way their life changes, their family's lives change. Like it was just so amazing and humbling to be in that situation, and then in that environment where you're actively like creating such a huge impact in someone's life and family. Like I really liked that and enjoyed that. So that's ultimately why I chose medicine.
Any specialties you have interest in?
As of right now, no. I don't think I want to do surgery. I would prefer something more with structured hours, as structured as it gets with medicine, and relatively less on call, because I do want to have as much of a balance as I can with medicine.
Dermatology.
Yeah, but dermatology is competitive. Yeah. So I don't know.
It's because it offers everything you just said.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the good thing about UMKC is that I'm literally doing shadowing and like I have experiences in the hospital like day one. Like most programs, like undergrad, you have to do it on your own. And then in med school, you start year 3 and 4. At UMKC in the 6-year program, I'm starting year 1, week 1. So then I have so much more exposure to different like types of specialties or just different situations compared, because I have like 6 years of experience rather than maybe a few years, which is nice. So then I have a better idea or a stronger idea of what I want to do.
What was the application process like?
It was 6 essays. I had 4 to 5 rec letters required, and that was round 1. And
Did we give you one?
Yes, but I used that for my Common App. So that was different. So these were different. They had different criteria. And then you have to do 2 different sections of activities. One was non-medical related activities. So I had like Taekwondo on there and then like teaching.
So you used that?
Yes, I did. And then like I had some school clubs and involvement. And then there's a second part of activities, which is just medical related activities. So they also evaluate that. And then after that I want to say February or so, I got a interview decision. So then I had interviews. And then the interviews are in MMI style. So there's 10 mini interviews that you do with other doctors or professors.
10?
Yeah, there's 10 mini interviews. Each is about like 6 to 8 minutes. And there's different scenarios and ethical questions, and they ask about you and your passions. It's all sort of things. And then in, I want to say March 3rd week, I found out a decision that I got in.
So how long of a process was that?
I started writing essays in August. So from August to March.
Oh my goodness. Good for you.
Yeah, it was a long process.
Did they know you were a 4th degree black belt?
Yes, I did add that in my application.
Oh, that has to help.
Yes, no, for sure. Because it shows a lot of commitment, I think, across, because I was able to say that I did it for like, what, 14 years or so? 14
years, right? You started at what age?
4.
Wow.
Yeah, as a super tyke.
That's crazy. Oh my God. I remember too. You were so tiny.
And I was looking at the pictures. I was so small.
So then what memories stand out at that time? Or do you even know why you started?
My parents put me in. I liked it. And that's all I remember really early. And then I just remember being like decent at it, like compared to other sports, because my parents put me in soccer and basketball and volleyball. And I just tended to do well in Taekwondo over those other sports. So I liked it more because I did better in that. And then it was just fun because I made a lot of friends, and then I had some good family friends that also did it with me. So it was a lot of fun, and I just kept going. And then eventually I got involved in the Pumse team and then competing, and I really enjoyed that. So I think that's what pretty much kept me going. And then after that, I started teaching, which I like that. So I think that's kind of the progression of things that kept me here.
What stands out on what's helped you get to where you are today?
I think the biggest thing for me is the confidence it built in me, especially when I started. I was very shy. And I remember like even being shy to key up because it was like, why am I being so loud? Like, you know, in a room of people, like I shouldn't be making such big noises. So it was kind of odd. So I think just like starting from that and then eventually like obviously competing in tournaments and then like we did the state level tournaments and like you have to have a lot of confidence to like go up and then compete. And just like all those practices that helped me build a lot of confidence. Then eventually I started doing the mentorship, or I don't know if it was even mentorship at that time. It was just, you know, helping out and then leadership. I built so much confidence like leading classes. And I think that helped me with my interviews or like meeting other people and networking because then I learned to talk to different people because then I was teaching kids and I was also talking to their parents. So I learned to talk to a lot of different people.
How'd you learn how to talk? Improve your communication?
I don't really know. It's actually a great question. I think I just talked so much where it felt less uncomfortable every time. So the more I did it, I just felt more comfortable and I realized that there's no reason for this to be awkward, really.
Did we ever train you on how to talk?
Yes, especially more for classes, like how to talk during class, like how to lead, what do you do with your voice to gain engagement with little kids. I think that helped me a lot too, because now I understand that different people, you talk different ways. And it's also important how you communicate with different people, otherwise you're not going to get anything done.
That's right. And you used to be shy, and I remember now.
Yeah, for sure.
You were very quiet.
Yes. I didn't like key-upping, which is like, you know.
So key-upping is when you yell in Taekwondo, right?
Yes.
So then, do you remember the moment where you kind of started to get over that?
No, because I was so young when this kind of happened, so not really. But I just remember being less and less uncomfortable, especially because I think I started getting better at Taekwondo. So then I was more confident in my ability also. So then when I had to, you know, like help other students or key up or whatever it was in that moment, it felt less awkward because I was more confident that I could do this well. So then I wasn't as worried.
Did you ever want to quit?
I don't think so, actually. Not until I actually did quit. I don't think there was ever a moment that like, okay, I'm done with this. Like I really enjoyed Taekwondo. And I made a lot of good friendships here, which also helped me stay for sure because I looked forward to coming to class. There was a period for sure where I came to class for my friends rather than Taekwondo. There was a switch like maybe when I was like 11, 12, for like those 2-3 years I came for my friends moreover. But then after that, I still, obviously, after they all left, I still stayed because I like Taekwondo. But I don't think there was ever a time really that I was like, I'm done with this.
And you were teaching classes. Like you were leading classes on your own.
Yes.
Right? How do you think that's helped you develop confidence?
I think when you're put in a classroom of 10 little kids that don't really want to be there, you're kind of forced to be loud and then like do whatever you can to get their attention. And you can't do that if you're shy. Like you have to be able to not yell at them, but like, you know, like take up space, be yourself. And I think just being put in that very awkward situation at first, because that's really awkward when there's little kids just like squirming around, not really listening to you. That's really awkward, especially when their parents are also looking at you because it's like, oh, okay, you know.
Because the little ones, the parents are always watching.
Yeah, exactly. So that is definitely awkward. So then you're forced to do well, and then like forced to make them listen to you, you know, if you will. I think that just like maybe like being forced in that situation multiple times just kind of helped me get over it. And then I was like, okay, well, this is not going to work. I have to do something about it. And I think that definitely helped me in that situation.
Because that was uncomfortable.
Yes, for sure.
And you were nervous and you had to perform under pressure.
Yes.
Why should other students join our leadership program?
I think it's beneficial because it definitely teaches you something that you don't really get anywhere else. Like in school clubs, if you're leading people, sure, but you're leading high schoolers. Like high schoolers know how to behave, you know, most of the time at least. Here, you're teaching a lot younger kids, and I think it teaches you a different skill set compared to leadership positions you would get elsewhere, which is also very important. And like I said earlier, like learning how to communicate with different groups of people is very important, whatever profession you go to. So that's definitely one reason why I believe that students should go into leadership. Additionally, it also, like I said, it also built a lot of confidence in me, which I didn't have earlier. Even before I started leadership, I was still even more shy than compared to after. So I think that helps a lot if you're still shy, because it forces you in an uncomfortable position, which makes you, like, almost forces you to take up space and be confident and be loud.
Yes, yes. And I've seen it so many times, over and over and over again. And it's interesting how many of our students will want to become doctors and engineers and even IT, I would say, like programming and all that stuff. One of them, a student from way back, he's getting his PhD in mathematics.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
No way.
Could not be me.
No, that's like way beyond even my comprehension. So then I'm guessing you had a pretty high GPA?
Yes, I had a 4.76 weighted GPA.
What's the highest?
For weighted, I don't really know, because technically you can't get a 5.0 because you can't take only honors and AP
Did you
classes.
take all honors in AP?
Yeah, everywhere I could, I took all honors and AP. Like my junior year, I had 7 APs and
How did you do all that?
Good time management for sure, because I was also working here at the time.
I know, yeah.
Good time management, and then also, I think it's a mental game. You just have to realize school's not hard. It's just it requires a lot of discipline, and that's the hard part. For me, my hardest class was AP Chem, and I realized that the more effort I put in, the easier it just got. So it's a discipline question, not like content question. At least for me, that's how I viewed it. Even with like history classes, I suck at history. It's my worst subject. I hate having to memorize a ton of dates and, you know, all the wars and stuff. But for me, it's like the content's not hard. A war is a war. This happened, this thing, you know, it's not really difficult. The difficulty part is just sitting down, going over that information, learning it, and it just like advocating the time for it. So I kind of just realized that high school is just about discipline and working hard. It's not really, like classes are challenging, but the more challenging part is just how you deal with the classes. So I think that like helped me deal with high school a lot easier, because I took a lot of hard classes.
Yes, I remember.
Yes.
And how many times did we hear that, oh, I don't have time?
Oh, a lot. I said that all the time.
But you did it.
Yeah.
I think we had a conversation about this.
Probably.
Do you remember? Because you were like,
Yes.
oh, I have too much and I can't teach anymore or whatever.
Yeah, which is also true. Like these classes, like as much as I say it is how you schedule your time, they do require a lot of time.
Yes.
And there's only so much time you get after school.
Well, you lasted pretty long here, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
You did. And I remember we had that conversation, and this is what happens all the time is I can't fit it all in. And my response is, yes, you can if you give up the nonsense.
Yeah, that's fair.
But that is hard at your age. I remember friends and all that other stuff that you think is important.
But I think it is important.
Well, to a certain extent.
Yes.
I mean, what's more important?
Well, yes, your education, obviously, but you can't put all your effort into just education and work and all that. You need something, otherwise you're just going to
Correct. My theory is, my opinion is that's why you have the weekend.
Well, for me, the weekend was to catch up on school, get ahead.
Oh, really? You did the opposite?
And hang out with friends.
So you hung out with friends during the week?
Well, no, not during the week, really.
Bingo. But that's my point. That's my point is weekend, you can hang out with the friends if you want to. But you said you didn't hang out with your friends during the week.
No, because the only time I'm going to hang out would be like clubs, which is like also work related.
Yes,
so
school. School. Yeah, but you still did school stuff.
Yes.
So even though you were hanging out with friends, you were also getting something else. You're getting credit for something else.
Yes, but I was also staying up late till like 3 a.m. to finish my work.
Yeah, that's not healthy. We've had that conversation
I think
too.
that is healthy because then I was able to relax for a little bit.
Hilonee, you're going to be a doctor? You're going to sit here and tell me that you can get away with 4 hours of sleep?
Well, would you say that having no social life is healthy?
Compared to sleep.
I think of having a good balance. I sleep some days.
Here's the deal.
Like I'm staying up to 3 a.m.
Here's our agreement. Ready? Go through medical school.
Well, that's a different story.
Hold on. go through medical school, reach out to me in 6 years, and then tell me that friends are more important than sleep.
Well, I didn't say friends are more important. I said
That's what I was
having
asking.
a social life and balance is more important.
Than sleep.
Yes.
So if you had, if it's between sleep and a social life, which one's more important?
Well, that also depends. You're not going to sacrifice every day.
No, but you have to sleep
once
enough.
in a while, it's okay.
How much sleep were you getting?
Right now, a lot, because I'm on summer.
No. During high school, your hardest time.
Probably like 7 hours a day.
Oh, you just said you were going to bed at 3.
I mean, yeah, so I said not every day. That's only the days that I was like, balancing it up.
But that wasn't consistent.
No, it's not like an everyday thing.
So studies show your age group, so basically high schoolers, 9 to 10 hours.
Yes.
9 to 10 hours. Literally. You're an anomaly, I think. You are not the normal. But I'm telling you right now, like even adults, even old people like me, we need 6, or sorry, it's not 6. I would say 7 to 9. You know what happens? It's called insulin resistance.
Yes.
Have you heard of that?
Yes.
Yes. That's what happens. So when you're younger, you can kind of get away with it, but it catches up and it really makes things bad. But I'm not saying, I definitely think social is important.
Yes.
But I also believe that whoever you're hanging out with should be a positive influence.
Yes, I agree.
Right? Social with negative people or a negative influence is actually the complete opposite. It's a bad thing. And you've probably seen people in high school who've hanging out with the wrong crowd.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And they drop off and you're like, oh my gosh, what happened to that person? Yeah, it's unfortunate. So I'm not arguing with you there, but it's sleep, social, and then obviously food. Yeah. But anyways, I just loved that you were able to manage it all. Right. And where did you get that discipline?
Definitely my dad. He taught me that. He's always the one, like, if you want, life is hard. You have to be able to, if you want to do it all, you have to learn how to do it all.
Did he help you manage your time?
No, I did that.
He's like,
I think my parents have always let me be independent in like figuring things out, which I appreciate a lot. And that's definitely shaped me who I am today.
Do you think more kids should do KOMA today?
Yeah, I think so.
Why do you think that?
I think it builds a different skill set than other sports per se. You won't really learn the collaboration aspect until maybe you're more of in a team like leadership. But you learn confidence, which is not something you're really going to learn in other sports, I think. And I think confidence is very important because if you can't really learn that later on in your life, I feel like you have to learn that early on. It's a lot harder to do that later. The earlier you do it, the more easier it gets. And I think in any profession, that's extremely important. And confidence is going to take you very far. No one's going to listen to someone that's not confident.
That's a good point. What about other sports? Did you play any other sports?
Yeah, I did. Up until freshman year, I did basketball, volleyball. I did soccer for a few years. I had fun, but I think the only thing I really got out of that was fun because I wasn't really a competitive level either. I did learn how to manage my time a little bit more, but honestly, that's pretty much it.
Because you were doing a lot of stuff?
Yeah.
That's how you learned how to manage your time?
Yeah.
But from the sport itself, what did you learn from it?
Honestly, not much because it was a rec level too. Like you don't really do direct sports.
Yes, I think there's value to when you get into the competitive side.
Yes,
because you got to you got to dig deep and train and push yourself and all that. But what about the kids who aren't competitive and maybe they're not physically coordinated? Maybe they're just not that person.
Yeah,
they're just not good at it, right? Nor do they have the desire. What are they going to do?
Yeah, that's why Taekwondo is good because it's an individual sport.
Yes, yes. And I always, we always see the kids who don't necessarily like the team sports, right? They like the individual or just kind of, they're more just unique that way. So then what would you tell a child that hasn't at least become a black belt yet who wants to quit?
I would say, what's the harm of sticking it out? Like, if I was really talking to a kid, I'd probably tell them, well, telling everyone you're a black belt is cool. Telling everyone you quit as an orange belt is not cool. I think that's the best way to get to a kid. But I'd also, if they're older enough or, able to understand that commitment is also an important lesson that you learn. And that takes you a long way. If you learn to quit things early, and you do that early in life, you're just going to do that later on. If you learn to stick it out, you're going to carry that along with you, and you're going to need that later in life as well. Like, you're going to have to, college is hard. You're going to have to stick it out. You can't just quit, you know, things like that. I think if you learn to push through that at a young age, that is very important. That's going to take you a long way in life.
What would you tell their parents?
Probably something similar. I'd probably tell them the second half to the parents. Just telling them that teaching your kids young that commitment is very important, and doing things even though you don't want to at certain times, you just need to see the value of them. Even though in the moment it might not seem like this is great, you need to stick it out, because at the end of the day, it's very helpful. And learning commitment is going to take you a long way.
Especially med school.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my goodness! But you know what's coming.
Oh yeah,
and you're prepared.
I'm so prepared.
Yes. I mean, it's gonna be hard, but you've already gone through a lot of hard times.
Yeah.
Was there any time, do you remember, that you couldn't break the board?
Yes. And I remember you coaching me through it in the middle of like the entire testing, and that's also awkward, but I think that also like helps a lot.
But you remember that.
Yes,
exactly. You don't remember the times you broke it.
I mean, I do.
All of them?
Not
the
all,
ones that stand out are usually the ones where you had to, where it's like, oh my goodness, I can't break this. Mm-hmm. I'm sweating now. Because I remember that when I was younger.
Yes, I definitely do. I think it was my very first black belt testing, and I didn't break the flying sidekick. And that was
because you were tiny like me when I was testing.
And I was the last one left, and that was so awkward. But then I remember you like telling me to calm down in front of like the 200 people sitting there, and I was like, oh my God, what do you mean calm down? Everyone's watching me. I'm the last person left. But that's probably the most distinct one I remember. But again, I think looking back at it now, it was definitely a formative experience. And I learned a lot from that.
But yeah, that, and you will never forget it, because I don't forget mine. I had the exact same experience, and I was so tiny trying to do a jump flying sidekick, right? But I guarantee you that you remember vividly when you broke it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so do I. And it's like literally the best feeling, only because of how hard it was.
Exactly.
That's the key.
Yeah.
And that's what parents need to understand. Just see the big picture. You're a living example of your parents invested a lot of money into this.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of time, right? But now looking back, look at you now.
Yeah.
And I think you being here 14 years, which is not common, that is not a common thing. That's a big deal. That is, I think it's worth the investment. I might be biased, but I think it's definitely worth it because I lived it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely made me the person who I am today.
And who else, other than your parents and family members, have you had a relationship that you've known for 14 years?
You.
That's what I'm saying. Other than me, right? Other than your Taekwondo instructor. See what I mean? That's why I think it's so unique. Like sports, you get different coaches.
Yeah.
Teachers, different teachers. But to have one throughout. So what would you say to someone who feels nervous about starting?
I'd ask them, why are they nervous? And then honestly, whatever they're thinking is probably in their head. There's really not a reason to be nervous about Taekwondo. Like everyone here I worked with as a student, as a fellow instructor, everyone's super welcoming. Everyone understands that, it's not really easy doing this for the first time because it's so different, I would argue, compared to other sports. But everyone's super welcoming. There's really no need to be nervous. I don't know.
Good. Anything else you'd like to add about your 14 years of being at KOMA?
Let's see. I've definitely made a lot of memorable friendships across the years, and I found some really good friends, which I do attest to KOMA because I would not find them anywhere else. And I think KOMA has given me a lot of I've had a lot of different chapters with KOMA. And I think each one was super important in making who I am today. And definitely, I don't think a lot of that I would get anywhere else. So definitely a huge thank you to KOMA and everyone here. And I don't think I would trade it for anything else. I don't think there's anything else I would do for 14 years of my life. But yeah.
Especially you're 18 now?
Yeah. At
the age of 18. Like, what else can you say? Lastly, what do you have to say to your parents?
Huge thank you for putting up with driving me here, like, because I came every single day. I did, before when it was like the unlimited classes, I was here like 6 days a week. So I came every day. So I'm sure they were fed up with driving me every day, but they showed up to every single testing. They signed me up for everything. They paid thousands and thousands of dollars. But more than that, they were always super excited whenever I, got a new belt, which seemed like every 3 months for them. It was like the same thing over and over again for them. But they were always super excited. So I appreciate that a lot. And just like their support throughout, even when I was an instructor, they were always like super supportive and, always helping me when, especially at the beginning, it was really hard and I would complain to them a lot. But they would always be like, no, it's okay. Like they would talk me through it, coach me through it. So a lot of different support, even when I was competing, like at state and national levels, like their coaching, their commitment, like flying me out to different states, like they've shown a lot of commitment and support. And so I really appreciate them for that.
That's great.
Yes.
I do have to mention that, UMKC, as you're walking around, don't walk at night, but let's say you do, and you might have to kick somebody in the face, then you can do that.
Yeah, that's true.
No, hopefully you never have to use it, but at least you got the training, right? I guarantee your dad's like, that's part
he's
of
not
the reason.
as worried.
Yeah. Part of the reason why he invested in KOMA was he wanted you to be safe when you became an adult and went off to college. So I do have to mention also, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. We've had a lot of students, but there's not many fourth degrees that I've awarded. I can count them just on my hand alone. So that is a huge deal. And I always had such respect for you and your parents, and even your sister's still here. Your younger sister following in your footsteps.
Yes.
But just your discipline has always been there. And I just want to say I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, don't forget us and
Absolutely
make sure you visit. And always remember that we're always here. I'm always here if you need anything. If you need any connections, we know a lot of doctors here.
That's true.
Over 20% of our parents are doctors or physicians, which is crazy. But yeah, if you need anything, just reach out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.